Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another installment of Council of One's Babylon 5 review. And today we are covering the episode Soulmate. And with me, as always, I've got Fiona Wolf, Classic Comics, and Mountains of Elysium. And very quickly to the chat, Colin P. Smith. Good afternoon, sir. Good to see you. Glad you could pop in. And, well, guys, this is going to be a fun one. In a lot of ways, because anytime we get a Londo episode, it's always a good time. It's always got a lot of humor to it. So that all being said, I open the floor. Where do we want to start?
Vera has the most unfortunate job. It is a pleasure to meet you. Wait, lucky dog. Yeah, man. Poor Garibaldi had no idea. He's not married to three lovely ladies. He's married to commitment. There we go.
Though, to be fair, I did see the absolute joy on Vera's face when he got to say the line, "It was a pleasure to meet you," when he saw them off at the end. It was beautiful.
Indeed. Indeed. And of course, I won't lie. I think Londo made the right choice in terms of the wife that he picked to keep.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I think after she basically saved his life, yeah, it was kind of the one to do.
Yeah, Franklin's line was great. Ambassador, I have an observation for you. Stuff it.
Actually, he's stick it, not stuff it.
There you go.
But close
Funny,
enough.
I never knew they were married.
Da. Oh man, if I was married to you, Ambassador Jakar, we'd all be worried.
Yeah, I know.
God, Jakar doesn't mind sleeping with some Centauri ladies, provided they're a bit deadly.
Indeed.
Yeah, Jakar's kind of a man whore, isn't he? or Narn whore, or whatever the term would be.
Narn whore. That's a good one. I like it. Good one, Classic.
Yeah, Ambassador Jakar, the Babylon 5 gigolo.
He really is. He's like the Babylon 5 equivalent of the ladies man from Saturday Night Live. If anybody remembers that character, played by Tim Meadows.
Oh,
I mean, even Colin B. Smith. I gotta wait for his comment to pop up so I can put it on the screen, but that's beautiful. And of course, we had a nice little side arc with Ambassador Delenn and Ivanova. Oh,
yes.
Lord.
Does that hurt? Poor Lanier. He's like, what is this? How strange.
I gotta put this up here. Narnalo or Giga Narn. Oh my goodness. Well, and if you just look at the three actresses that played Londo's wives, Marielle, Timov, and Daguerre. Yeah. Boy, does Daguerre have daggers for everybody else. Of course, so does Timov. And
why are we all here? I would like to know. Wait, that's more your field of endeavor, isn't it?
And then, of course, Londo's like, well, we could always wait for Timov to get here, and then we could really have some fun. And hello, wow. Just saying, goodness.
I mean, this is probably one of the most quotable episodes we got in B5. Besides a handful of the Shadow War ones. Oh,
yes.
What was the one? The secret to our marriage success is our lack of communication. You've jeopardized this success, and I want to know why.
I know. I mean, this episode is, except for maybe the story, the plot line, and everything with Stoner and Talia Winters. This episode is a laugh riot. I mean, if I did not know any better, I would swear Mel Brooks had a hand in writing this episode, but he has no credit on this episode. But yeah, this was an episode that I absolutely, like I said at the start, anytime you get an episode with Londo, as the center, as the focus, it's going to be a hoot. And this episode's a hoot.
Provided it isn't in season, like, say, 5. Oh.
Oh man, yeah. The episodes with Londo in season 5, those are brutal.
Yeah.
Those are hard. Ouch.
One thing.
Go ahead, Elysium.
One thing in the that Londo was giving his wives plenty of rope because do you remember in his ascension party when Jakar threw the grape to Marielle, that's a Narn mating ritual. Londo would have known that, and he was going, off you go. That was actually in the script when I was reading through Lurker's Guide, and there was far more going on than I actually realized.
Oh yeah, from the way Jakar was like insulting by wearing boots and everything else, yeah.
And openly courting his wife in front of him. And the fact that Londo would have known this, and the fact he didn't care, he said, "Oh, this is going to be so much fun when I reveal."
Pretty much.
I wonder if Timov would have been his choice before that all happened. You know, like when they first all got there, was he going to choose Timov, or did that make him change his mind?
I think he would have chosen her just because she knew what her duties were, and she didn't make no bones about it, and she didn't really have any kind of ulterior motive. She just was, of all 3 of them, she was probably the most traditionalist.
Yeah, very true.
Though she does bite.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, what have you heard about me, Veer?
I don't bite.
Much. Oh, that one time.
It was twice.
Oh, man. Yeah, you know. And Colin P. Smith, there's a code in this episode in Born to the Purple, I think, in one of the Centauri Prime novels. I wasn't aware of that. If one of you knows it better than I, by all means, share.
Yeah, like at the Centauri Prime novels, it does go more into the fact of what's happening with Timov later on. Londo generally comes to really care for her and doesn't want any of the Drock bullshit getting near her. That's why he pushes her away from the palace and everything.
Well, and you know, the interesting thing is, of the 3 wives, I honestly think Londo made the right choice. I think he would have made the right choice even if she had not saved his life. But I think her doing that and him, I'm guessing he figured it out one way or another. Push him over the line and said, you know what, yeah, I'm keeping her. And he was even though he could have left the other 2 penniless. Or as he said, I'm sure you have diverted many of the funds to separate accounts. And of course, being scheming, conniving Centauri wives, they surely would have.
Well, probably except for Timov, though. She probably just did her stuff for regular duties. She probably got like funds from her own family still as a form of dowry and everything else.
Probably. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised. Well, and you know, the other thing that I really love about this episode is we get some more development with the friendship between Winters and Garibaldi. That was something I really was happy to see.
Oh yeah, and Garibaldi even talks to Delenn about like, you know, like, why am I feeling this? And sometimes she's like, souls often meet each other multiple times, you know, over and over again. So maybe Garibaldi's having a soul moment.
Yeah, that's entirely possible.
So there you go. It's like even Delenn bringing her own two cents to this, which could make sense. You know, maybe all the Babylon 5 characters have met each other before in another lifetime.
That's entirely possible. It really is. And, you know, the way this episode is intertwined, because obviously the overarching story is with Londo and his wives, and of course you've got the B story with Talia and her former spouse Stoner, I think its first name is Matt Stone or something like that.
Matt Stoner.
Matt Stoner. Okay.
I had to scatter slug pellets in front of the thing after seeing him. He was so creepy.
Yeah, that actor did I forget his
brilliant
name.
Job.
But he was good in that role. He plays a jerk very well.
I just still find it interesting that while all this was going on, Jerry Doyle was legitimately married to Winters, Andrea Thompson. It was only for like 2 years though, or something like that. But still, that's kind of funny.
So thank you, Fiona.
There's an interesting parallel that in the Psi Corps they have arranged marriages, just like the Centauri. So you see the arranged marriages on one side, and the Psi Corps almost behaving like the Centauri, with arranged marriages, where clan is important, it's us against them, they want to rule. There's a lot of parallels between the Psi Corps and how the Centauri will move forward.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that.
Yep. And that's also the way I guess Psi Corps would be like, if we got greater chances to get some sort of genetic edge, let's do it. Ugh.
Yeah, well, Psi Corps, if they're anything, they are pragmatists or opportunists. I think opportunists would be more accurate. So,
yeah, because not all of them were on the same page. Some of them were like, "Oh my God, I'm noping out of this."
You can't say I necessarily blame them. Well, and obviously the title of this episode, Soulmate, says a lot about it. I mean, we're dealing with Londo and his wives. We're dealing with Talia and Stoner, and obviously we get that little bit of Minbari philosophy from Delenn and everything, in terms of, she's like, you have this look on your face like you're soul sick when she's talking to Garibaldi, and then of course she fills him in on that little piece of Minbari philosophy, which honestly I think is rather appropriate in this instant. But I gotta say, poor Susan having to fix Delenn's hair. I mean, we only get like two or three scenes with Ivanova, and 2 scenes specifically with her and Delenn, one at the beginning and one at the end. But oh my gosh,
the ending one, I've been having these odd cramps lately, and you just see Ivanova's face like, oh shit, I gotta explain female problems to her now. Oh no.
Well, but it does give you a clue as to just how extensive the transformation for Delenn has been. I mean, who knew? Minbari can have PMS. Well, female Minbari can have PMS.
Oh no. Well, you know what? Honestly, the series doesn't really go into great effect. Like, what is a Minbari's kind of like cycle for having kids and everything else? They didn't really go into that much.
Yeah, they never really got into Minbari physiology much.
Except for the fact that they can have a lot of blood loss and keep going.
And alcohol makes them psychotic.
Yeah, I always wondered about that. Do you think there was actually truth to there? Do you think that was just a way of the Minbari religious caste keeping everybody else in line by saying, yeah, we're going to cook up this story and spread around and turn it into propaganda and say, yeah, nobody should drink, because if you drink, you may go psychotic. And, well, who would want to do that?
I don't know. I think it's genuine, because in season 5, when Londo was looking for alcohol so he could tell them, they said, no, we can't have any alcohol here. The Minbari can't tolerate it. So I think it was genuine.
Okay.
Maybe.
Yeah, and the only aspect I remember from like a Minbari marriage ceremony is the one about the little red fruit, and then Sakai was like, you might have gotten married, Jeff. Which would be ironic considering how they're related to each other.
Yeah, considering that Delenn is actually a great granddaughter of Valen. Whew. Can you say creepy?
Yeah, I don't want to go Game of Thrones here. No. No!
We don't want to go Game of Thrones, and we certainly don't want to go post Return of the Jedi, Empire Strikes Back.
It's like, oh
Oh
Oh man, and this is even the episode where everybody's like, "You're settling into your duties quite nicely, Captain." And Sheridan's like, yeah, thanks guys, thanks everybody.
Yeah, this is what episode 5?
Oh, episode 7 currently, but
episode 7. Okay.
Yeah.
I wonder if that was tongue in cheek to the audience, saying, "Oh, you're settling in, but don't get comfortable."
Yeah, because I'm trying to remember what a lot of the fan base was talking about in the chat rooms at the time, because I only got to see a little bit of it, because my dad at the time was like, "You are not going to explore the internet without my supervision." So yeah, back then it was all a bunch of chat rooms. Yeah.
I think one of the things that kept Babylon 5 on a keel was Straczynski and a lot of the writers were very involved with in the chat rooms, keeping fans going. So no, there's a reason for this.
Yeah.
Like, the Lurker's Guide, they'd keep a lot of people on board.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Well, and of course we do get a cameo from another TNG alum, Mr. Holm.
Yeah,
as a merchant there on the station, and
Carol Stryken.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, didn't he play Lurch in the '90s Addams Family movies?
Yeah, I think so.
I thought that was the same actor, and I honestly thought his voice would sound different because if you remember, Mr. Holm never speaks ever, but honestly, if you couldn't throw a tribble without hitting a cameo from a Star Trek actor or actress on Babylon 5 half the time.
Well, I think even back then, weren't people, if you got into one type of show, you were like kind of typecast into that particular setting or genre in some ways? Yes and no. Because Peter Jerzak did write a book later on that was like kind of based on his experiences on Babylon 5. He kind of poked fun at the fact that, like my character didn't get as much action as the Sheridan stand-in character. I thought it was funny. I'll probably link that. Hey, let me see if I can find that book now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, by all means. Well, and the other funny thing is, I imagine you all know this, but maybe you don't. Apparently, Patricia Tallman actually wrote a book. It was almost like a scrapbook and everything that she compiled and everything from her time on B5, and it was published. And it's actually, you can find it on Amazon, I think. I remember it's been a couple months ago and everything, but Alec Peters from Axanar did an interview with Patricia Tallman, and I was like, oh my gosh. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
It was called Diplomatic Act. And actor Richard Faraday does not believe in extraterrestrials, even though he plays an alien diplomat named Harmon on the science fiction TV program Star Piece. Yeah, I'll link it.
Oh, goodness. You don't believe in I don't believe in extraterrestrials, but I do play one on TV.
Yes.
Yeah, and Colin P. Smith brings up an interesting point. Perry Jurassic was on Hill Street Blues. I think I remember that, honestly, and he was also in Tron. I think it was actually one of his very first roles. He played a program. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. No, I think if Peter Jurassic had not been as good as Lando, he probably would have got more roles. But he was just so iconic in this role that he probably was typecast.
Yeah, and yeah, he was in Tron. He played an accounting program or something like that.
Yeah, he played the first program that Flynn went up against once he got digitized and sent down to the gaming grid. And very quick to the chat, Lewis X Sparrow. Good afternoon. Glad you could pop in. Hope you're doing well.
Hey, yeah, Colin's right. It's kind of like Babylon 5 meets Galaxy Quest. It really is. I have the hardback somewhere in the house. I think it's up with the. Oh, it's right next to Legions of Fire. There we go.
Okay. Excellent.
Yeah, I'm looking at that Patricia Tallman book on Amazon. It's called Pleasure Thresholds.
Why does that not surprise me?
Patricia Tallman's Babylon 5 memoir. It's $250.
Yeah, it ain't cheap. As much as I would love to have it, I'm sorry, I am not dropping $250 on it. Maybe I can find it used on eBay. Who knows? Or there are actually a couple of used book sites that you can go to, and you can find used books. Well, obviously cheap. So maybe I'll go that route. Oh wow, Lewis X Sparrow brings up a good one. Beard your ass. I'll pop this up.
Yeah,
here.
I see that.
He was in Scarecrow and Mrs. King as I remember that because that was one of Bruce Boxleitner's first roles was Scarecrow and Mrs. King. Dang, I can't remember who played the woman on that, but I love the show.
Kate Jackson.
Who?
Kate Jackson.
Kate
Charlie's
Jackson.
Angels.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought that was right. Wow.
I wonder is he in? I wonder is Peter Jurassic in the new? Was it Mark Zickery? I think it was at Space Command because I know Bruce Boxleitner, Mira Furlong, Bill Mummy. There's a lot of ex-Babylon 5 actors in that. So I wonder, will he make an appearance at some stage? Was
Boxleitner in that? I saw the first episode of that. I don't remember him being there.
He's in there, all right. He's pretty much plays an admiral?
Okay.
Wow. This is almost like turning into 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
Except in this case.
I was going to say Jurassic. He also had a part on was it Hill Street Blues? I think he had a small part on a recurring character on there.
Yeah. Well, somebody had made a comment in a chat I was in the other night and everything. Something they said and everything. And I didn't take it necessarily as a slight. When it comes to Babylon 5, B-list actors, but A+ writing. And I honestly I don't take that as a personal hit or a dig or anything, because these aren't big name actors and actresses. They do mostly TV work, but they do good TV work and everything. They do good shows and everything. So I think that was a very accurate comment and everything that was made. And if you think about it, even though we only meet Daguerre and Marielle and Timov once, they stick with you.
Oh yeah,
they really do. They stick with you and everything. And even though Stoner has a face that is just begging to be punched repeatedly, he's a character that sticks with you. And I really appreciate that fact. I appreciate. Go ahead, Classic.
He does kind of embody a person with a punchable face. I'd never thought of that, but you're right. He does.
He's the kind of character that does Smug Snake very well.
Oh. Yes, he does. I grew up. That's a foregone. It's already a well-known thing. I grew up in the 80s. And I watched all these shows and everything that people are listing off. And I remember these actors and actresses, but I never knew their name. And I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah. I'm looking, I can take the make-off off. I can take the prosthetics off the person. I'm like, wow, that person was in this show and I love that show. And it really speaks to the writing and the acting and everything that these shows that are like 20 or 30 some odd years old and everything, they still resonate with you. I mean, obviously, we're sitting here talking about a show that's been out there for 20 some odd years now. And yeah, and I honestly, again, this episode, it makes you laugh, but it makes you question the idea of who do you spend the rest of your life with? I mean, honestly, I would wager all of us in here are either, well, I know for a fact 2 of us are married, and I would imagine we've all had past relationships, and we always look back on those past relationships and say, maybe I should have skipped that one.
Yeah, there's probably something like that in everybody's background. Although for some people, it ends up sticking with them in the form of child support payments. Ooh.
Yeah. Not fun. Not fun. And I think Colin, were you talking about the guy who played Stoner, or were you talking about somebody else or anything? If you can let us know in the chat. But yeah, honestly, I think this episode does a good job of exploring the dynamics of interpersonal relationships and how sometimes we come across those people in our lives and they are in our lives for a certain amount of time. Okay. All right. Thank you, Colin. Appreciate it. Right on. And you look back on it 10 or 20 or maybe less years and you're like, why did I stay with that person for as long as I did? And Londo gets, I think, for a lot of us, that ultimate wish. He gets to shove off everything, too, that he can't stand and keep the one that he actually does like. I mean, don't misunderstand me. I'm not a huge fan of arranged marriages or, well, in this case, polygamy or anything of being married to more than one wife. But, he does end up with the one person, as he says, where he knows, he will always know where he stands with them. I mean, Tamal says it perfectly. I'll at best tolerate you. I'll never love you. But he's like, that's the thing. With you, I will always know where I stand. And that's something I think a lot of us and everything really want in life, is someone that we will always know where we stand with the other person we're with. I think this episode really explores that dynamic very, very well. And I don't know what you all think, but let me know. Tell me what y'all think.
Well, eventually it grows into love if you read the extended books.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was something there already. A lot of Timov's bravado. Because you can see how clearly she is hurt when Londo insults her. Mm-hmm. So there is feeling, and there's feeling on both sides, but it's more, this was arranged. You're not right for me, I'm not right for you. Mm-hmm. But they respect each other. Well, apart from the biting.
You want a good spouse? Make sure she can bite. Sorry.
Look at the choppers on that one. Oh,
my Atlanta. And well, and something we really haven't talked about, we can jump into that now, is the whole idea of the Psi Corps trying to create different types of psychic abilities. And in this particular case, we've got empaths, somebody that can manipulate people's emotions, get them to do what they want. In this case, Stoner. And man, what a weasel. What an absolute weasel. Do that to a person and everything. I'm sorry. He deserved what he got.
Well, and the only reason why they were trying to pair him up with Talia again is because, again, they showcase that genetically they're very compatible. So accident children could possibly breed more empaths.
Yeah, more or less. And I think I actually remember seeing him on Supernatural, Colin. So thank you for bringing that up. Appreciate it.
I wonder. I know in the lore, I think Talia is a P5 or P6 at most. So I wonder, is Control a higher P rating? Because I know both in season 5 they have multiple personalities, where different personalities have different ratings.
Ooh. And since Jason Ironheart did give her that capability for telekinetics, can you imagine having somebody being an empath, telepath, and having telekinetics? Oh,
yes.
Yeah. And very quickly to the chat, Robert Green. Good afternoon, sir. Thank you for popping in, and I hope your grandson's doing well. And as I tell everybody that's either on the panel or in the chat, life comes first. So, I will speak for myself. I'll be praying for your grandson. I hope he recovers. I hope he's okay. So, but thank you for being here. Appreciate it. So, but yeah, back to what y'all were talking about in terms of the fact that Talia was a very low level telekinetic. Yeah, a child that could quite literally a telepath that had all three of those telepathic abilities and have hands on them. I mean, they're lucky.
I mean, maybe that's the evil reason why Bester mentioned at one point, oh yes, we dissect. And then Garibaldi is like, basically that's a berserk button. Like later on, like, oh.
I wonder, is that why Mr. Slug came? Because Control would know that Talia's after getting more abilities. Had she just been a low level, he probably would have moved on to somebody else, because he clearly was still working for Psychor.
Well, and maybe her buried personality was still sending updates, but like on the sly, while Talia herself was asleep.
Yeah, maybe.
No, that's a possibility.
It would be interesting to know, as far as the number of telepaths, like what percentage are, say a P5 or higher, or a P7 or higher, or a P10 or whatever, because I would assume the higher the rating goes, the rarer they become.
Well, it seems like a fair amount of there's like a fair amount of 5 through 12s that were with the Runaways, and the one guy got pushed to be in like a P13, Ironheart's buddy.
Yes.
Yeah.
That guy, he was on Stargate. I think he was in 2 episodes. Oh, sorry, in 2 episodes of B5, but he was in the Stargate movie and some of the show.
Oh, okay. After a while, I unfortunately fell out of, not that I disliked it or anything, I fell out of Stargate, SG-1, and Atlantis and all them, and not that I disliked it, it's just I didn't have time to watch it, unfortunately. So, but that's another story for another time. So. But yeah, it just goes to show you, Psychor is always up to some sort of dirty dealings. Always. And it just makes your skin crawl. Yeah.
That, and if Poor Crusade had lasted longer, the one telepath guy on the crew would have been able to showcase even more of what happened with the telepath war, with Psychor getting its butt kicked in.
Man, I would have loved to have seen that.
I was just about to say the same thing. I'd love to have seen that as a series.
TNT, both a boon and a curse.
Yeah.
Oh man, tell me about it. TNT quite literally had a huge moneymaker on their hands if they had not screwed it up. Oh, imagine what we could have gotten and everything. Even if B5 had ended season 5 and we had all the TV movies and everything, and then we would have gotten, maybe Crusade would have gone longer and everything, but it breaks your heart. Go ahead, Classic, please.
I was going to say that, I mean, obviously, I'm glad that TNT picked up Babylon 5, and so we got that 5th season. I mean, it's great that they did that, but I always thought that TNT was kind of it was not a good fit for Babylon 5, really. You know, they were obviously trying to go for, you know, kind of a demographic that I think was different from the standard B5 audience. And basically what they wanted to do with Crusade was essentially kind of what you're seeing with some franchises now, like with Star Trek, where it's tried to basically kind of go for the lowest common denominator, just make it an action show with lots of, you know, things blowing up.
Yeah.
And, you know, I just don't think it was ever a good fit.
I'm trying to remember what some of the bigger internet battles were at the time. Some people were saying all the Babylon 5 fans would tune in to watch Crusade, and then everybody else would tune out, and they were trying to court the Baywatch kind of subset of people. I remember JMS saying he was really frustrated with that aspect. From what I can remember, it's like, oh boy.
Honestly, I did enjoy Crusade, but I think JMS, the plan was, get the couple of big explosions out of the way at the start, get people in, and then slowly work back into a more Babylon 5. He had another 5-year arc planned.
Yeah, and that could have quite literally what happened or anything. They could have slowly eased away from all the action set pieces and explosions and ship battles and whatnot, and gotten back into more philosophical and interpersonal relationship type of stories, which was really the strength of B5. I mean, if you think about it, even with the Shadow War and the war against Clark, we had some cool space battles and everything, but the real core of it was philosophical debate and interpersonal relationships. That was the great thing about B5. And I think it's why people are talking about it. It's why I started my channel and everything to discuss it in the first darn place. And yeah, Louis X Sparrow, Crusade deserved another season. I was lucky. I got the entire televised set or anything, so I've got here at my fingertips to watch whenever I want. Although I have never actually watched Crusade, so whenever we get through with the series proper and all the TV movies, and we're going to try and intersperse those as it fits into the B5 timeline, we'll do Crusade.
That sounds good, because there's actually a lot to talk about with Crusade, because there was a lot planned that didn't get to happen.
Yeah, I can
some
imagine.
Really good characters in there that needed more fleshing out, but could have been up there with Londo, Jakar, if given the chance.
Yeah, because Darina was looking for other people like herself because she thought she was like the last of her race. But, eventually, before Crusade got booted, you found that there's like little colonies of her people left. So they were trying to develop that. So it's like, oh man. But at least we did get what we did get, and it didn't get basically what's happening to Star Trek now. So at least I can be thankful for that.
Yeah. In a manner of speaking, yes. Although, as everybody knows, I am not a hardcore Trekkie, but I do like Trek because it's good sci-fi. Even though I have not.
Yep. Well, the thing is, that's even happening with Star Wars and everything else too. It's like, at least Babylon 5 still has its own identity, and Hollywood isn't trying to remake it into something it's not.
Yeah.
Please. If Straczynski is smart, he will never make the giant Lucas blunder and sell off B5. If anything, it'll go with him to his grave. And honestly, I'd be okay with that.
He has. It's actually Warner Brothers owns. He has the rights to a theatrical movie, but everything else is in owned by Warner Brothers.
Okay. But the trajectory that Warner Brothers has been taking lately, they seem to be doing good stuff. So until they show me otherwise, I will continue to be hesitantly trusting of them. Yes. I mean, if you look at the slate of stuff they've got coming up, I mean, if they really wanted to, if they wanted to start another franchise, I'm not saying reboot B5, but maybe pick back up with Crusade and or something. Make it do something within the B5 universe. I mean, it's a big universe. They could try and do something. I don't know. I mean, maybe do some sort of prequel series or whatever. I mean, I'd be down for that as long as it's good, and as long as they get good writers and get a decent cast and everything. I mean, I don't know what you would do in terms of a B5 series and everything, but somebody's got to have some. Somebody's got to have some sort of story out there that they're sitting on. Like,
honestly, at this point, with the way creators are way too interested in dystopias and nihilism and down the dump stuff, I'm like, I'm just glad that Babylon 5 will just sit where it's at right now.
I pretty much have no faith in Hollywood to do anything good as far as reboots these days. It's just it's kind of I feel the same thing with Farscape. You know, when that Dark Crystal show came on and was doing well, of course, it was Henson, which is the same ones that do Farscape, and people are talking about, you know, oh, maybe this will lead to another Farscape show, and I was thinking, man, I hope not.
I'd actually think an anthology series, maybe for individual episodes, just set all over the B5 universe, where it wouldn't matter if it goes too big or small, or if they make mistakes, because it's single stories.
Kind of like Lost Tales.
Something like that, yes. Like catch up with the two monks from season 4. Was it Brother Alwyn and to see Brother Alwyn and see Brother Michael becoming a ranger.
Yeah. Well, and you know, Colin P. Smith, he brings up there's plenty of B5 novels and books that can be made into miniseries. That's true.
The Telepath War miniseries.
The one B5 thing I'd want them to do is just try to convert all the stuff to digital so they can re-release it. Because it's sad that I have to go search around the corners of the internet like, oh, there it is. Okay. Because I just want backup copies, but it's hard enough to find, you know, reasonably priced Babylon 5 merchandise that won't put you out into the poorhouse. It's like, oh.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder how, with that Babylon 5 shop they had a while back on the show, where how much of that stuff made it out of the set and like into people's homes.
You'd be surprised. I bet we would be very surprised at that. And that's the truth.
Actually, some of those there is, I think it was on Orville Nation. He was interviewing a lady in that one night, and Garrett Wong is they did a pilot. And they're using former B5 sets and uniforms just to make the show. I was looking at it going, that looks very familiar. Gareth Wong was in the blue uniform, and so they're cropping up again. But that's from the I can't remember where she got it, but yeah, it's B5 uniforms are being used.
Yeah. Well, and Robert Greene, he brings up an interesting point. If you listen to JMS, Crusade was supposed to be a renegade ship looking for a cure, and when they went against Earth Force, they found it and came back, according to JMS. So
yeah, JMS he was actually a big fan of Blake 7, and that was what the show was supposed to eventually become. It was going to, I think, at the end of the first season, they were going to find the cure, but they would discover that basically, you know, of course, at the end of Babylon 5, there's supposed to be this ban on shadow technology and stuff like that. And they would find out that the Earth government was still, you know, was breaking that treaty, was breaking that agreement. And so Earth Force would declare them to be outlaws, and they would kind of become fugitives. And that's what the show would kind of become from the second season going forward.
Yeah. That I seem to remember reading something about that, because finding the cure wouldn't have lasted all those years.
No, I doubt it. I mean, that could have been one story arc, but it wouldn't have been something that would have been ongoing. I mean, it would have turned into basically a very protracted MacGuffin hunt, and Nobody wants that. You eventually want to get to a conclusion. It's kind of like there were a couple of, well, this is a little bit of a segue, and it might be an odd segue, but it's a segue. There were a couple of cartoon series from I think the 80s and 90s and everything, where basically they were looking for a MacGuffin or a set of MacGuffins, and eventually it just kind of played out. One show that I remember in particular was Pirates of Darkwater and the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo. But that's another topic for another time.
Pirates of Darkwater was fun, though. I enjoyed that.
Oh, man. Yes. Yes, I did, too. I loved that show. But, oh, wow. Lewis, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Stephen Frears passed away a couple of years ago. Damn.
Yes.
It's a shame.
Oh, he did? I didn't know that.
I didn't either.
There's a lot.
They had a thing on his Facebook page about it. His kids updated everybody.
Oh man, what a shame.
Time hasn't been kind to the B5 cast.
Yeah, you think? You think? I
remember hearing or reading somewhere that I forget his name, but the character that played Zathras, that actor, he died in a motorcycle accident.
Yeah, Dr. Franklin, he had something to do with his heart. He went to get up from bed one morning and collapsed.
Aortic aneurysm.
Yep. Although the Babylon 5 people do take care of their families, people raised funds for the guy who played Zathras, for Stephen Franklin, for Jakar. Yeah, the fan base really came together to help out those families. At least from what I remember, it's like, oh my god. But yeah, half the cast is gone.
Yeah, I mean, and unfortunately, Bruce Boxleitner is divorced from from Melissa Gilbert, which sucks. But I guess he was kind of a bad boy. From what I heard rumors he was cheating on his wife, which I don't approve of. But that's, again, another topic for another time.
No, Colin. Dr. Franklin's actor, yeah, his wife was talking about it. He just got up to do his normal thing. He was only 43 or something when this happened.
Yeah, I think it might have been Michael O'Hare was the one that committed suicide, Colin, actually. Because, unfortunately, Michael O'Hare suffered from some sort of mental disorder, sadly.
Of course, we also lost Jerry Doyle.
Yeah, we lost Jerry Doyle.
Andreas Kasoulas.
Peter Jurassic. Okay.
Jeff Conaway.
Yeah.
It's why do they keep taking all the B5 people? Jesus.
So. Okay.
But at least we still have them, on screen, and the ones that can still get together do get together at various conventions and everything when they can. But it's just but that's why I kind of want to get that Babylon 5 encyclopedia thing, because it gives you access to a bunch of videos JMS did with all of them putting together the encyclopedia and all the other added stuff. You'll see Jerry Doyle there, Peter Jurczyk, everybody just talking about their time on set.
Mm-hmm.
So at least that's one way people can still bring them back. Still remember them.
Yeah, well, it really is a testament to all the actors and actresses that were a part of this show. The fact that the fan base has been so supportive, even though so many are gone, it doesn't diminish the fandom itself. I think, if anything, it really brings the fan base together even more, which is something you don't see very often, except for maybe a few exceptions, like maybe the Star Wars and Star Trek fan bases. Because if you consider how many we've lost from both of those, but still the fan base is still incredibly passionate and cares about those that are still around. So
I am watching the episode in the background a little bit. In the part where Sheridan's calling in medical team for Londo, he accidentally says in one of the bloopers, "This is Sinclair," and it's oh. Oh, oops.
Oopsie. That's a good one. So, all right. Well, guys, I think we've pretty much. I mean, this wasn't a super deep episode, but I think we've pretty much dissected it and got a little bit outside the lines. But that's okay. That's where the fun is. So, if you have any objection, I think we're going to close out here. So,
okay. Just one short thing is that
sure. Yeah,
Londo's wives are plague, famine, and death, and they said by process of elimination that makes Londo war.
Good one, Felicia. Good one. Thank you for bringing us all a laugh. Thank you. So, well, I want to thank my panel, my fellow council members for being here. This is always a blast. This is one of the highlights of my week, us getting together and talking B5. I want to thank everybody that was in the chat, Colin P. Smith, Lewis X Sparrow, everybody that was lurking and everything that didn't get a chance to participate, and of course to one of my newest subscribers, Robert Green. Robert, I hope you enjoyed the discussion. Of course, go back and you can catch up and everything with all the other discussions that we have done. And of course, we'll be back next week with another installment. A couple of things I do want to make an announcement on. I think sometime later this evening, I will be going live again solo with another installment of my Star Wars fan fiction, Ray Who. If I don't do it tonight, I will most likely do it sometime later this week. But also, I did a little miscalculation when I announced that I would have been on YouTube 1 year next month. It's actually November. I will have been on YouTube for 1 year, so I'm going to be pushing back my 1 year anniversary until November. But guys, before we close, if you have anything for your channels or you just want to plug your channels or anything, by all means, I open the floor so you can.
Okay. I'm just a crazy Florida lady that likes writing superhero space opera. Whee! Okay.
I suppose I'll shout in. I just do some reviews I want to on my channel. Good sci-fi. I look into the spirituality within sci-fi. That's mainly where I want to go with my channel. So that's it. If you want to check some of my videos out, please subscribe.
And my channel is Classic Comics. I cover comics, obviously, and also other sci-fi and fantasy and pop culture genre type stuff. I should actually have a couple of comic reviews going up tomorrow.
Excellent. And that does remind me, tomorrow afternoon, I'll actually be back with another installment of Afternoons with the Ambassador with my good friend Mladen Kulik. And we are finally, after him getting moved and settled in, we're finally going to do a review of the 13th Warrior. So that'll be at 12 p.m. Central Time and everything on here. So be sure to tune in for that if you are a fan of 13th Warrior. And yeah. And of course, as I mentioned, well, actually tomorrow is the first day of October, and we will officially enter the season of the Witch. And I've got a lineup of streams and everything. We're going to be talking about all sorts of things that go bump and creak and stabby in the night. Going to be doing some discussions on some of the great horror classics of the past. We're going to do a watch party of the original Scream from the 1990s. So I will keep you all posted as those come up. I am one for alliteration. So I'm going to be doing a series called Wicked Wednesdays. So be sure to keep your eyes and ears open for that. And if anyone is interested in being a part of any of those streams, I will, of course, send you the link and keep you posted. So, but again, everybody, thank you all for being here. Have a great evening, a great afternoon, wherever you're at. And until next time, this is the Ambassadors signing off.